Hello, my karmically connected friend. Have you ever asked yourself a direct question? Why do we so easily hand over the key to our happiness to others? Just one judging glance, one unintentional word, or someone's cold attitude is powerful enough to create a great storm that sweeps away your peace. But dear friend, the true strength of a person lies not in shouting louder than the world's noise, but in the ability to maintain absolute stillness right in the eye of the storm. The highest level of a cultivated mind is the powerful silence, where every external attack or upheaval becomes meaningless before the silent but steadfast inner strength. Today, I invite you to embark on the journey of awakening that hidden power, to learn how to become an unwavering mountain that no one and nothing can shake from your serenity. Lesson 1. Choose where you place your energy wisely. Let us lay the first brick to build that steadfast inner fortress with the most crucial lesson, which is the art of choosing a worthy place to bestow your energy. My dear friend, try to imagine that every morning when you wake up, the universe grants you an invaluable pot of pure gold, and that is your spiritual energy. This is a finite and sacred resource, the only fuel for you to construct your life. Yet, tragically, most of us are generously squandering this treasure wantonly in unworthy places, only to feel exhausted and empty at the end of the day. We are easily drawn into others' dramatic scripts, meaningless gossip, or toxic relationships that are just waiting to suck the vitality out of us. Let's try to imagine a very common situation that perhaps all of us have experienced. You are sitting at work and hear a group of colleagues whispering, gossiping, and harshly judging an absent person. Or during a family gathering, a narrow-minded relative starts criticizing your lifestyle, deliberately trying to provoke a tense argument. The natural instinct of the ego often urges you to rush into that spiral. You want to clarify, you want to argue to defend justice. Or worse, you stay silent but inwardly boil with anger and carry that frustration home, allowing it to haunt your sleep all night long. When you do this, you are personally throwing your precious energy bars of gold into the black hole of hearsay and emotional garbage. To help you awaken from this wastefulness, contemplate a profound image. Your energy is like the cool, fresh water of life. The law of nature dictates that wherever water flows, life will flourish and blossom there. If you continuously pour that water into the seeds of anger, argument, jealousy, and toxic people, then your soul garden will only grow weeds and sharp thorns, stinging your own heart. Conversely, if you know how to value that water, carefully saving it to nurture the seeds of wisdom, self-understanding, and self-love, then the flowers of happiness and prosperity will have the chance to bloom. So, how do we preserve that sacred stream in a world full of noise? The secret lies in a moment of mindful pause. Next time, before you intend to react harshly to a provocation, or before you intend to engage in a pointless conversation, take a deep breath and ask yourself this powerful set of questions. Is this truly worth sacrificing my precious inner peace for? Do this person and this story truly deserve my sacred energy? The answer will surely help you drop the burden instantly. Remember, peace is never free. Its price is the resolute refusal of things that are trivial and unworthy. The choice to remain silent, smile, and withdraw from petty arguments is absolutely not cowardice or avoidance. It is the silent pride of a person who has deeply understood their own worth. Choose a worthy place to place your attention, because wherever your attention is, that is your life. Lesson 2. Self-validate your worth. Once we know how to preserve our precious energy supply and prevent it from leaking into meaningless places, the next step in the journey of building inner strength is learning how to stand firmly on our own 2 feet. Let us move into the second lesson, named Self-validate your worth, or in other words, returning to take refuge in oneself. Try to honestly look into your mind to see if you are suffering from this unstable psychological state. It is when you receive a compliment, you feel utterly joyful, as if you were soaring on cloud 9. Conversely, just one small criticism or reproach is enough to make you collapse, plunging into the abyss of self-doubt and insecurity. If the answer is yes, then I must frankly tell you a painful truth. You have not truly mastered your own life. You are inadvertently handing over control of your happiness to others. You are like a fragile, dry leaf, blowing wherever the wind goes, completely dependent on the breath of praise and blame from the world. The Buddha is the greatest embodiment of self-sovereignty that we need to learn from. Throughout his life of spreading the Dharma, countless individuals came to extol him to the skies, and there were also many who, out of jealousy, came to grossly insult and defame him. But facing both extremes, the Buddha's mind remained serene and unshakable, like the Sumeru mountain. He was not elated by compliments because he knew his wisdom value did not increase due to praise. He was also not saddened by criticism because he understood his character was not diminished by slander. He comprehended himself so thoroughly that he did not need anyone outside to validate who he was. That is the pinnacle of freedom. Your worth is not found in the number of likes on social media, nor in the polite compliments of colleagues or the approval of your parents. Your worth is your inherent goodness, the silent efforts, and the wisdom you cultivate every day. When you must wait for others to stamp their approval before you believe you are worthy, that is when you are making yourself a slave to emotions. Remember, others only see your surface through their biased lenses. Only you are the one who fully understands the journey you have been through. To help you build this steadfast pillar in your mind, I invite you to practice a simple spiritual journaling exercise every evening. Before going to bed, take a few quiet minutes to ask yourself the following 2 questions. The first question is, what is one thing, however small, that I did today that made me feel proud and peaceful? And the second question is, if the whole world turned its back on me tomorrow, what good quality inside me would still remain and sustain me? Persistently answering these 2 questions daily will help you gradually redirect your attention from the external to the internal. It is like personally nurturing the roots of your soul tree to anchor deeply into the earth. Once the roots are firm through self-understanding, no matter how great the storms of life are, they will only make a few yellow leaves fall, but they will never be able to uproot you. Lesson 3. Respond, don't react. When the inner roots have begun to anchor deeply into the soil of self-confidence, we need to learn how to deal with the whirlwinds outside. This brings us to the third lesson, which I consider the most important survival skill for an awakened mind. Respond, don't react. Try to observe yourself. Aren't we living most of the day like a pre-programmed machine? Someone compliments us, we smile. Someone criticizes us, we become sad. Someone raises their voice, we shout back. Someone cuts us off while driving, we get furious. We are like puppets being controlled by strings, and anyone who holds that emotional thread can control our behavior. That is called reacting, an instinctive, unconscious action that often leaves behind belated regret. But the person who practices, the person with deep inner strength, is different. They hold a secret, a treasure found right in this classic quote. Between the stimulus and the response, there is always a sacred pause. That pause is the key to freedom. It is the tiny gap between when the event happens and when you act. The average person instantly fills that gap with anger, but the wise person steps into that pause to rest, to observe, and to choose. Reaction is the slavery of habit, while response is the choice of wisdom. To truly let you feel the power of this art of stopping, I do not want to speak only in theory. Right now, in this very moment, I invite you to perform a small ritual with me that lasts exactly 5 seconds. Imagine you have just received a very offensive message. Do nothing. Let's follow my lead. Second 1. 1. Stop. Close your mouth. Don't speak. Don't type. Second 2. Inhale deeply, feeling the air fill your chest. Second 3. Exhale slowly, relaxing your tense shoulders. Second, ask yourself, what is happening inside me right now? Second, ask yourself, which response is best for my own peace? Do you see? Just those 5 brief seconds have the power to change the entire situation. That 5 seconds of breathing has cut the fuse to the emotional bomb. It transfers control from the amygdala, the fear center, to the prefrontal cortex, the thinking center. Next time you face a storm, remember this 5-second ritual. Don't rush. Don't worry that you are being slow. That slowness is the demeanor of a sovereign who is mastering the kingdom of their mind. Remember that words spoken in anger can never be taken back, but wise silence for a few seconds can save an entire relationship. Practice cherishing and widening that sacred pause, because that is the sanctuary of peace that no one can violate. Lesson 4. Let go of the need to be understood correctly. We have progressed through the art of stopping, and now it is time to free the mind from one of the most exhausting burdens of human life. We now step into the 4th lesson, letting go of the need to be understood correctly. There is a psychological paradox that kind and sensitive people often suffer from, the burning desire for everyone to correctly understand their good intentions. When misunderstood or judged incorrectly, our first reaction is panic, suffering, and a rush into a battle of explanation. We write long, drawn-out messages. We try every means to prove our innocence. We pour our heart out to clarify. But what is the usual result? It is exhaustion, and a feeling of powerlessness when the other person maintains their prejudice, or even distorts your explanation further. Why is this so? This is when you need to engrave a painful but true maxim to untie yourself. The person who truly understands you does not need you to explain, and the person who deliberately does not want to understand will find all your explanations meaningless. Look at the situation from the perspective of awakening. Every human being in this world views life through a separate lens, colored by their past experiences, their emotional wounds, and their level of perception. If a person is wearing the dark glasses of jealousy and narrow-mindedness, then even if you are a brilliant diamond, in their eyes, you are just a dark stone. Your effort to clarify to them is as futile as trying to describe the beauty of a rainbow to someone who is born blind. That is not your fault. That is their limitation. The attempt to prove yourself a good person to someone who is not on the same frequency is, in fact, an act of disrespect toward yourself. You are lowering your own value to beg for approval from someone incapable of empathy. Remember, the person who finds you difficult to understand, the one who always seeks to find fault with you, is absolutely not the audience to whom you need to prove anything. They are the test of your steadfastness, not the judge of your life. Liberation comes when you realize that the truth remains the truth, whether anyone believes it or not. The sun still shines brightly even if a blind person denies the existence of light. Your character is not distorted merely by someone else's words. Instead of wasting precious time to talk about who you are, use that time to live authentically as yourself. Let your kind actions, your inner peace, and time answer everything. Sometimes, serene silence and a smile of forbearance are the most resounding and masterful explanation you can send to those who misunderstand you. Lay down the burden of having to please the entire world and gently walk your own path. Lesson 5. Detachment. Observe. Don't identify with emotion. We have covered more than half of the journey of building inner strength. Now, let us step into the deepest layer of the mind, which holds the golden key to freeing you from the most violent emotional storms. That is the 5th lesson. Detachment. Observe but do not identify. There is a fundamental linguistic mistake we use every day that inadvertently becomes the handcuff that locks us into suffering. That is when we are sad. We often say, "I am sad." When we are angry, we say, "I am angry." When we are anxious, we say, "I am worried." Do you recognize the danger here? By using the word am, you are declaring that the emotion is yourself. You are identifying your entire being with a temporary psychological state. You transform yourself into sadness, into anger. But Buddhist wisdom reveals a great liberating truth. Feel it, but don't become it. To grasp this, imagine your mind is like a vast blue sky, and emotions, whether extreme joy or profound sorrow, are merely clouds drifting across that sky. There are gentle, fluffy white clouds, and there are pitch-black, storm-warning clouds. But what is the nature of the sky? It is vastness, emptiness, and immobility. The sky allows every cloud to pass through, but the sky never becomes the cloud. No matter how tempestuous the dark cloud is, it cannot stain or destroy the clarity of the sky behind it. When the storm disperses, the sky remains there, intact. You are that sky. Do not lower yourself to become those impermanent clouds. Or imagine your emotions as a swiftly flowing river. When a surge of anger hits, the average person will instantly jump into the river, allowing the current to sweep them away, crashing into submerged rocks, drowning and struggling. That is when you identify with the anger. But the person who practices, the one with steady inner strength, chooses a different path. They step onto the bank, sit quietly on the green grass, and watch the turbulent water rush past. They see the murky current, they hear its roaring sound, but they do not get wet. They separate themselves from the flow. That is the position of the observer. So, how do you practice this detachment in real life? The secret lies in labeling the emotion instead of owning it. Next time, when your chest tightens with anxiety or burns with anger, don't say, "I am going crazy." Pause for a beat, breathe deeply, and quietly affirm in your mind, "I am observing a wave of anger passing through," or "I notice the feeling of anxiety is present." This small change in phrasing creates a huge safety distance. It reminds you, this emotion is a guest visiting, and I am the host. The guest comes, and the guest will go. The host does not need to chase the guest, nor does the host need to become the guest. When you master this observation skill, you will achieve a state that people call immobility amidst the changing currents of life. You still cry when you are sad and laugh when you are happy. You do not become an emotionless stone. But deep inside, you know that no single emotion has the power to define who you are or imprison you forever. You are free even within your own emotions. That is the pinnacle of mind mastery. Lesson 6. Peace is your responsibility. We have learned how to observe and detach from emotions in the previous lesson. But to truly master our lives, we need a cognitive leap, an even stronger commitment. We now move into the 6th lesson, the lesson of ultimate maturity. Peace is solely your responsibility. There is a term in business called outsourcing. Companies often hire external units to do tasks they are not specialized in. But in life, most of us are making a fatal mistake. We are outsourcing our own peace. Try to reflect. How many times have you said phrases like, "He makes me furious," "This job stresses me out," or "This weather puts me in a bad mood"? When you say those words, you are unconsciously declaring that my peace depends on his behavior, on the company, and even on the weather. You are handing your emotional remote control to others and hoping they will press the happiness button for you. You turn yourself into a passive victim, sitting and waiting for the world to become kind so you can be happy. But dear friend, this world is chaotic and flawed. If you wait for everything external to stabilize before you can be peaceful internally, you will be waiting until the next lifetime. The core message I want to send you today is: stop the blame immediately and reclaim your power. No one has the ability to hurt or anger you unless you open the door and allow them to do so. Peace is not a gift someone brings. It is an accountability that you must shoulder every day. To fulfill this responsibility, you need to seriously practice the following 3 disciplines. Firstly, become the strict gatekeeper of your mind. Protect your mental space. Your house has locked doors and bolts to keep out thieves, so why do you leave the door to your mind wide open for anyone to throw garbage in? You have the right to decide what you read, what you listen to, and who you associate with. If a morning news broadcast only spreads fear, turn it off. If a friend only brings complaining energy, limit the time you spend with them. Protecting your mental space is not selfishness, it is self-respect. Do not let your soul become a public trash dump. Secondly, practice emotional accountability. Next time, when anger arises, instead of pointing a finger at someone else and saying, "It's because of you that I'm angry," correct your wording. "I am feeling angry because my expectations were not met." This small change carries huge significance. It shifts you from the position of a victim to the position of an observer and master. You admit that the emotion belongs to you, was created by your mind, and only you have the power to transform it. Thirdly, and most importantly, establish a mind-cleansing ritual, meditation, silence. You bathe every day to clean your body after being exposed to dust. But what about your mind? It also needs to be cleansed after a long day of colliding with all kinds of negative energy. Dedicate at least 10 to 15 minutes every day to sit still, close your eyes, and return to your breath. That is not a religious ritual. It is a mandatory mental hygiene practice. In that silence, you clean up the emotional garbage, regenerate energy, and reinforce your inner fortress wall. Remember, stop outsourcing your peace. Stop contracting out your happiness to external circumstances. You are the architect, the builder, and the sole guardian of your own castle of peace. When you embrace this responsibility, no external storm can collapse your roof, because its foundation has been built from steadfast inner self-mastery. Lesson 7. The bigger picture. We have journeyed together for a long time to cultivate inner strength, and now, to complete that steadfast castle of the mind, we need a more comprehensive and wiser perspective. We now move into the 7th lesson, the final lesson, which holds the most powerful potential for mental liberation. Looking at the bigger picture, there is a psychological habit that causes humans to drown in suffering. When faced with adversity, we tend to use a magnifying glass to scrutinize the problem. We magnify the pain, magnify the mistakes, and magnify the hurt hundreds of times, until it fills our entire view, and we believe it is the end of the world. We forget that our life is not a stagnant puddle, but a vast, long river flowing out to the great ocean. To escape the trap of this tunnel vision, whenever you feel blocked, desperate, or angry, I invite you to take a deep breath, step back a few paces, and ask yourself this mantra-like question. Will this still matter in 5 years? Try closing your eyes and contemplating some very common examples around you. Perhaps today, you and your spouse had a fierce argument over a trivial matter like who should wash the dishes or an insensitive remark during dinner. Right now, the anger makes you feel that the other person is heartless, and the marriage is suffocating and terrible. But try placing yourself in the position of 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now, when the two of you have grown old together. Will you still remember that fight over the dirty dish today? Or at that time, will the only things left in your memory be the deep marital bond, the moments you overcame storms together? Or suppose you just made a mistake at work and were reprimanded by your boss, or a close friend misunderstood you and has been distant. The feelings of shame and hurt right now are crushing, as if the whole world is collapsing under your feet. But looking back 5 years from now, that mistake might just be a valuable lesson that helped you mature and become stronger. It is just a tiny dot on your long career journey. This is the moment we need to use the Buddhist wisdom of impermanence, anicca, to illuminate our perspective. Impermanence means nothing stays still forever. Today's pain, no matter how heartbreaking, will cool down over time. Today's joy, no matter how brilliant, will also fade away. When you look at everything through the lens of 5 years, 10 years, or an entire lifetime, you will see that current troubles suddenly shrink, becoming as tiny as a grain of sand in the desert. Why must we destroy a joyful day, a precious relationship, or our own health over a grain of sand? There is an immensely powerful inspirational quote that I want you to engrave in your mind every time you stumble. Don't confuse one page with the whole book. What is happening is just one page in your life story, not the entire book. Do not hastily tear up the whole book or slam shut the book of your life because of one sad page, one page stained with ink, or one spelling mistake. Your life is a magnificent work with complete chapters. There are chapters of sorrow, chapters of happiness, chapters of failure, and chapters of glory. The current chapter may be full of tears and challenges, but it does not define your ending. It is merely a necessary bumpy road section leading you to brighter next chapters. When you learn to zoom out, to widen your view to see the bigger picture, you will feel your heart lighten. You will no longer cling to trivial matters. You will find it easier to forgive, easier to let go. You will realize that the most important thing, in the end, is not who was right or wrong in an argument, nor how much money you made this month, but how completely and lovingly we have lived our lives. Practice seeing your life like someone standing on a high mountain peak looking down. From up high, the potholes and bumps on the ground where you once stumbled look tiny and harmless. Maintain that broad, elevated view. When your perspective widens, pain will automatically shrink, and peace will fill that void. That is liberation. That is the true freedom of a mature soul. My dear friend, the journey through the 7 lessons today is not merely about acquiring knowledge, but it is the process of forging resilience and inner courage. We have moved together that from learning to cherish our sacred energy, standing firm on our self-worth, mastering the wise art of pausing, to letting go of the need to explain, emotional detachment, taking self-responsibility, and finally, maintaining a broad perspective. Please remember that the steadfastness of the mind is not a gift from heaven, but the well-deserved reward of discipline in living. Treat these 7 principles as the invisible armor you put on every morning when you wake up. It demands serious, continuous, and unwavering practice. But once you have mastered it, you will reach a completely different level of life. You will no longer be a fragile leaf swaying in the wind, but will become an imposing mountain, serene and immobile amidst the countless storms of life. If you feel an intense source of inner strength awakening after this video, please leave a comment below with the phrase, "I choose steadfastness," as a powerful commitment to yourself. And if you find these sharings helpful, do not hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so that we may continue to hold hands on the courageous path of cultivation ahead. Thank you for listening. May you be strong and resolute, with a peaceful heart and a clear mind. Goodbye, and see you again.